guys, welcome to Office Blokes React. I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
I'm Office Bloke Daz.
And collectively, we are the Office Blokes.
We are.
It is true. One of us looks great in lingerie. Comment section. Let us know who. We are the Office Blokes. We're trying to get to 200,000 subs. We've just hit 180,000 today. So if you're not subscribed and you're watching, pop down there, pop a little subscribe on the channel. Means the world, and it'd be amazing to get to 200,000, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be
a great milestone.
We've not had a milestone for ages, it feels like.
180.
Yes.
But like, you know, we hit 50 million views, and that seems to be going up like, it's all,
It's
you know.
getting there, isn't it?
It's going up steady.
Didn't you shed a load of...
I did by
content
deleting loads of videos that YouTube were cracking down on. That lost us a couple of million views.
Yeah.
But anyway, right, XFL versus NFL. That's why I talked about lingerie, Mike, in case you're wondering.
Right, I was wondering.
XFL's isn't that the women's league?
I thought the XFL was the, like another league they tried to set up. I didn't think wasn't that the lingerie football league?
I thought it was called XFL. I'd be gutted if not, because I might be
wrong, but I thought it was like an alternate league. I thought the XFL was an alternate league they tried to set up,
right,
to run parallel against the NFL.
That'd make a lot more sense.
Right.
I feel stupid now.
It's you anyway. The answer's in anyway.
I look terrible in lingerie. Fucking hell.
Well, you're the only one that's to be seen in lingerie. That's all. Yeah. When he come in the other day, he said to me, well, I won't say what he said. Go on, carry on.
Right then, let's get into XFL versus NFL. Let's do it.
I like that.
Tune.
Yeah.
Football is easily the most popular sport in the United States, and the NFL is easily the most popular football league. I don't think anyone can argue with either one of those two statements. The biggest and highest rated sporting event every year is the Super Bowl. The NFL has all the best players, announcers, everything associated with the league is top notch. If right now I made an announcement that I wanted to start my own football league to compete against them, you wouldn't take it seriously. You would have the exact same reaction you had when you heard Kanye announce he was running for president. In both cases, your reaction is appropriate. But what if instead of me announcing a competing league, it was the head of NBC Sports and the head of the WWF? Now, all of a sudden, you'd be curious as to what they have to say.
WWE.
Yeah, but it was WWF, wasn't it? Until the Wildlife Fund wanted that. But what you've got is, I guess that was when it was Vince McMahon, wasn't it? And people like that. You've got two sporting giants, really, in the USA marketplace, you know, that can put their heads together to try and come up with an alternate. Yeah. You know, which we found out, you know, with the alternates that when they come about, you know, the Premier League, when that's all like kicked off. With sports like that, it's very, very difficult to introduce something new.
Oh, I bet,
people are going to change from what they know best and know works, a working model that's very, very successful, into something and put an alternate into it.
Didn't the Premier League replace the First Division, though? Essentially,
it was the same.
So it wasn't like it wasn't a
change of name.
No, it was just a change of name, and it was like a bolt on for like a different divisional name. So they went from the First Division, they changed it from the First Division to the Premier League. But it was the same teams that were in it.
Same teams. So it wasn't like a complete left turn for
the First Division. Then they kept it the Premier League, then the First Division. So then they rebranded the First Division as the Championship. So then you had the Premier League and the Championship. All still the same teams, though. It wasn't any new. There was nothing new about it.
That's essentially what it was. Like a rebranding, wasn't it?
Rebranding to go global. Which they did again, really successful. And there are talks now of trying to get a replica thing called the European League, as you know. You know, but these are big players, aren't they? That you probably thought, huge. You got something. They probably get great backing, financial wise. It'll be big.
I mean, the NFL. Is that usually on a channel like the Premier League over here? It's generally mostly on Sky Sports. It's the one.
Well, it's spread, isn't it, over here? You get Sky.
It is a bit,
BT, and you've got Amazon. And you've got some of the other sort of like bolters on now that sort of like come about. I think it's the same with the NFL. You think you get like it's on NBC, it's on ABC.
You get like a main one, but then the others have got some of it.
I don't think the NFL's on like cable channels. I think it's on regular channels. Where you get like it'll be over at like the equivalent of ITV over here. I think so people can watch it over there. They cater to the fans in the USA. They don't over here. They don't give a shit about you.
No, the price of entry for casual fans with football, in a lot of cases, whether you're buying tickets or getting a Sky Sports subscription or whatever, it's quite high. Just to watch a few games.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah. Anyway,
That's what happened. Dick Ebersol from NBC Sports and Vince McMahon from the WWF came together to form the XFL as a joint venture between the two companies.
The X is for extreme.
Though the X technically stood for nothing. Yeah, it's weird. So these seem like two good people from two good companies to come together to form a competing football league, both with extensive sports and television experience. The intention of the XFL was to fill the gap between NFL seasons with some alternative football the fans can watch. The first ever XFL game was played in the beginning of February 2001, just days after the Super Bowl. Though the XFL season didn't occur at the same time as the NFL season, it was still in direct competition. In order to compete with the NFL, they needed to differentiate themselves, offer something to the fans that they couldn't get from the other league. And honestly, I think they did that. One thing they did differently was eliminate the fair catch rule. It's the rule that ensures when the ball is kicked, the receiving team is able to catch it without being tackled by the other team.
So in other words, people get minced when they're about to catch
Sounds
it.
like it. Yeah.
Fucking hell. It's probably there for a reason, that rule. Wow. I can see the logic where you're going to have it, the NFL season ends, and then you're going to fill the gap with something else.
Yeah.
But then the players are probably so fucking battered.
No, I think you're going to get the secondary players. I don't think it's going to be the NFL players. I mean, you might get the odd ones. I might be wrong on
go
this.
for the
Might be wrong,
Monday
but
or
I'm
something.
thinking it's going to be the secondary players. So it's going to be the equivalent of like the championship over here.
Like
You
the
think so,
youth
wouldn't you?
team
Surely,
sort of
because
thing.
otherwise you'd be like,
Yeah, but they're all
all
under
year
contracts
round.
as well. So will he be able to play outside of that contract?
Probably
so that's
not.
a different thing. What I think probably the aim for this is build something similar or replicate it into a different sort of style, and then try and attract investment into that, and then bring people over from the NFL into the XFL, so it becomes a bigger league.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's the business plan for it.
Yeah.
If it was a B league and it was all of your non-starting players that didn't get any pitch time that season.
they'll still be under contract.
No, I know,
like
but
whatever.
I'm just saying, if it was a B league with the same teams, but the B teams, so people are under contract but haven't had any pitch time, play in that second league.
Right. Well, that's what they do in
It'd be a
Spain.
different
That's what they do
story.
in Spain, for example. So Barcelona, they have their premium team in the League One. What's it called?
Premier
over there?
Liga.
La Liga.
La Liga.
La Liga. And then in League 2, they have Barcelona 2. But Barcelona 2 can't get promoted into La Liga.
Right.
Right? They have to. That's as high as they're ever going to go. They're going to play in that league all the time.
They play concurrently?
Yeah.
That's it's not different at
So
times,
what I was thinking is, if this could have been that, but just one season ends, then the B team season starts, and then that kind of work.
Yeah, but the NFL would have that.
Yeah.
Because that'd just be NFL.
Yeah.
This is giving chance to them people that didn't quite make it into the NFL, who are now plumbers or electricians, who might say, "No, I can still play that kind of level."
Yeah.
Or they might play for the Sunday League team equivalents, but they can make it at that level, and then they're building up that league.
Yeah.
Eventually, build it up to bring people across to be to take them from the NFL and put them in the XFL.
Yeah.
Cannon fodder, you mean? Stood there waiting for the ball.
Yeah, go on. You're just gonna get leathered, mate. Yeah.
So basically, in the XFL, the guy catches the ball and then gets tackled right away. The NFL starts each game with a flip of a coin to determine who gets the ball first. The XFL starts with a player from each team sprinting toward a football and then diving at it to determine first possession. Something they called the scramble. Something Vince McMahon
It's like schoolboy
I was
football.
just
isn't
thinking
it?
that.
It's like do it junior school.
Yeah.
over from the pro wrestling world is an emphasis on the players' personalities. The WWF is very much built on a group of characters, and that's what he envisioned for the new league. He did this through a few different methods. Instead of the player's last name on the back of their jersey, it displayed a nickname of their choosing. All the players would wear microphones throughout the game, and there would be cameramen actually on the field to better catch the players' reactions. And speaking of cameras, they used a camera above the field to catch better angles that would make the fans feel more connected to the game. The way the players were compensated.
That's become pretty normal now, and the cameras above the field.
Yeah, it's a big thing now.
It's more advanced than this is 2001.
Yeah.
So long time, 20 years ago.
Interesting though if they pioneered it, and then it's now a part of the NFL and it's part of Premier League football over here.
Yeah.
It was also unheard of. They were paid based on how well the teams performed. Quarterbacks made $5,000 per game, the other players made $4,500, except for the kickers, who were $1,000 less. There was a $2,500 bonus per player if they won the game, $7,500 if it was a playoff game, and the big thing was that the championship team at the end of the season received $1 million that they had to split. In my opinion, the XFL completely succeeded in finding creative ways to differentiate themselves from the NFL. It was marketed as being a hardcore, extreme version of the NFL. Vince McMahon said the NFL stood for the No Fun League, whereas the XFL stood for the Extra Fun League. The commercials for it had explosions and wrecking balls. The entire message of their campaign was that the NFL is lame and the XFL is intense. That first game in February of 2001 was a massive ratings success. 54 million viewers.
Wow.
To put that into perspective, the Super Bowl that occurred days before drew around 84 million viewers. So, for the brand new competing league to draw viewers anywhere near that of the Super Bowl, it was a massive success. But here's the bad news for the XFL. The ratings dropped significantly for the second week, and just kept dropping further each week, until eventually the ratings were so low they were actually setting records. They ended their season in April with their big $1 million game.
Who will win this year's $1 million game?
And this was the final XFL game ever played. The terrible ratings motivated NBC to pull their involvement. Vince McMahon originally planned to keep it going on other networks, but they had demands involving the WWF that he just wasn't willing to comply with. So after just a few months, it was over. And it was a big financial failure. I think the failure of the XFL could be summarized into two main reasons. Here's Bob Costas to tell you reason number one.
It's not WWF enough for that crowd, and it's not good enough football for the sports-minded crowd.
Thank you, Bob. It's really important to know your audience, and who exactly is the audience for this? I have to think their intention was to draw in NFL fans as well as WWF fans, but what they actually did was only draw in people who were fans of both of the leagues, which is a narrow fan base. In my opinion, they should have dropped all the WWF stuff since it was detracting all the football fans. I'm not exaggerating when I say this league had the smell of WWF all over it. Their opening game began with The Rock hyping it up. It was followed by Vince McMahon giving it a wrestling-style announcement.
This is the XFL!
Which was then followed by over 2 hours of famous wrestler Jesse Ventura announcing the game. For someone who's not a WWF fan, that's a lot of WWF to take in during your football game.
He's
I
had
get it.
a load of people under contracts that he's not using over at the WWF, and he's like,
Exactly.
you've got to find a job for him.
Well, it's not
Gotta
even
keep
that. What
plugging
they
that,
are
aren't
is the personalities that can raise attraction. So you use them where it's like calling on them as favours, right? Can you come down and do the announcing? Can you? But Vince McMahon's very typecast, isn't he?
Yeah.
Just imagine him meetings being very WWE.
Yeah.
He got stuck in a match this week, didn't he? In his mid-70s or something.
He
and
was.
he
He
got
turned
chokeslammed.
turned into wrestling, didn't he? When he was doing that, that's
yeah.
what you call it. But it's I don't know,
Yeah.
show wrestling or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I think the thing with sports like this, and I'm sure the NFL fans are the same as football fans over here,
Yeah.
that they take it quite seriously.
yeah, absolutely.
And if you bring in theatrics, pantomime, and just ridiculousness,
Yeah.
people are going to go, what the fuck have you done to my game?
Yeah, people don't have it, do they?
No.
At all.
People like tradition, and especially
Yeah.
in sport.
Yeah.
And it's if I could see if he was going to launch a business where it's going to be a feeder into the NFL,
Yeah.
so the good players might be able to move to the franchises that are in the NFL.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the players that you're not using in the NFL who are not quite good enough for your franchise and releasing them. Maybe one of the biggest things in sport is you get these people who come in and the mental health because they're playing for, I don't know, San Francisco 49ers and they've been drafted and they've been really good at school and then they go to the San Francisco 49ers and they're thinking, I'm one of the best players in the world, and all of a sudden they turn out to be shit.
Yeah,
They just drop them, they just bin them off.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, and then what do they do?
Drop them like a stone and
Yeah,
spend
and what
their
do they
whole
do?
life.
But then there's
Nowhere
no
to go,
support.
sort of
There's no
thing.
support for these people.
Yeah.
Even when they finish their career, some of them. I mean, you get some people who are going to be multi-millionaires when they finish their career, but you get them people who are on the periphery. They don't finish their career, or they might get a bad injury.
Yeah.
You know, but they were never that good enough to be the number one at what they did in their position or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they get They find themselves. They go through mass depression.
Yeah.
Sports, all different types of sports. So there's no support. Well, there wasn't really support for these kind of people coming through. Something like an XFL league. I think it's probably branded wrong as XFL anyway. But something like coming down that could filter that and give them that support, so they could sort of like dwindle back into society.
Yeah.
That would have probably been more acceptable.
Yeah. So it's like going away to play for the same sport but a foreign league, for example. It's like end of your career, you go to China for 2 years, you get that paycheck.
But you could feed that as a global sport. So you're taking the NFL 2, let's call it, into Europe, into Asia, into South America, into wherever it may be.
It'd be great for growing the sport.
Yeah, and you get sort of like putting people on the sort of like, come and see what you can get in the USA with the NFL. This is a taste of it. It's not, it's not. Everyone knows it's not as good, but you're getting to see it on a regular basis.
It's a bit like the soccer league over there. That was built up over. I mean, it's a lot better now, but it built up over the last 15, 20
MLS,
years with a lot of MLS, a lot of ex-players near the end of the career going in there. It builds up the thing, doesn't it? The profile and everything.
There's loads.
That's the way that they could have gone. You'd think, wouldn't you?
And what you do then is you bring the game globally. I'll guarantee you, pretty much, if you go anywhere around the world and ask them, do they watch American football? Most people don't. No, because they'll watch the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
but that's a global event. But if you're watching, I don't know, Washington against New York Giants, everyone will be like, didn't see it. Outside of the USA.
Yeah, the times are weird. There's no access to it in most countries. If you had this kind of NFL 2 league that can tour as well, and more often that they're not just go to London and sell out the Wembley, go everywhere.
But the other side of it as well, even if you put the NFL 2 and put advertise it as the NFL 2 and put New York Giants against Washington and put them in Wembley Stadium in England, we won't know who the players are anyway. You just say, I'll go.
You just believe it.
Of course, yeah.
I think the X.
Dude, what's it? Key and Peele doing all the names when you first come out. Everyone be like,
The X Games was huge at this point, and that was for all extreme sports. Absolutely massive. Yeah. So they've probably looked at the X Games and the success of it and gone, it's extreme. XFL, let's do that over a few beers. That's how the conversation's gone.
Like the narrator said there, there was a little bit too much wrestling involved for the sport.
That
was a big mistake.
It turned me right off. I'd be like,
suck off the wrestlers and get again ex-pros in there, football players to do the commentary, to do to plug it and everything. People that are associated with it in the first place.
Guys, you might not get them players coming in to sort of like put the name against something like this if they don't agree with it.
You'd get the wannabe pundits.
There's always some thinking that would do it, I would guess.
Yeah,
let's see what happens.
Second reason for the failure, I think, is even stronger than the first. The league was too much flash and too little substance. They successfully attracted a bunch of viewers with their flashiness, but once everyone tuned in and saw there wasn't much substance, they left. In that first game, the players were no good. The audience was watching some bad football being played, which is understandable because, for one, these weren't NFL caliber players. Almost all of them were players that couldn't make it in the other league. I mean, they were decent players, college players that were...
I'm thinking he should have been 69.
I know.
Death blow 69, not Death blow 96.
I didn't think that one through. No. Get off me!
Former NFL players. Great football players, in fact. Just nowhere near NFL caliber. But the other reason they played so poorly is because the entire league was put together in such a rush. The players had very little practice together and simply weren't ready to play at this level. When you take a bunch of players that are already not the best and rush them out into the game, it's not a good combination. You can tell from day one that the core focus of this league was to entertain, and it sacrificed substance every step of the way. The scramble at the beginning of the game, entertaining for the moment, but it led to a lot of player injuries, which ultimately sacrifices substance. Same thing with the elimination of the fair catch. It's just asking for more injuries, which leads to worse games overall when the players are hurt and not playing. The announcer, Jesse Ventura. He's not even close to the best person you could have announcing football games, but he may appear more entertaining on the surface, so they went with him. Even just looking at the team names, the Orlando Rage, the Memphis Maniacs, Las Vegas Outlaws, the New York/New Jersey Hitmen. Really? The Hitmen? They weren't going for quality names. They were funny, they were shocking, but they really weren't good.
That's like a fantasy football league.
Yeah.
It's
It's theatrics, isn't it? That's the one.
Maniacs, hitmen, rage.
I'm sure Vince McMahon said lean into the theatrics. You know, we want this to be.
It's got wrestling all over it again, though, hasn't it? With some of the names in there. You just imagine something being called that, can't you?
Los Angeles Extreme XFL.
The bottom line is that they cared more about putting on a show than providing some good football, and the fans saw right through that. There were significant differences from the NFL, but those differences weren't necessarily improvements. But I do give them credit for trying. Even if they had done everything perfectly, I'm still not so sure it would have succeeded. It's hard to compete with the NFL. I want to note that there is an entire 30 for 30 documentary about the XFL. If you want to go deeper into the subject and hear the thoughts of all the people involved in it, I strongly recommend it. Some things featured in the documentary that I didn't cover here: Dick Ebersol's involvement with Vince McMahon prior to the XFL, NBC losing NFL contracts shortly before all this happened, details about the rush to get the league started, the XFL's emphasis on cheerleaders, lame attempts to draw viewers once the ratings dropped, the public's overall distrust of Vince McMahon, and suspicion that he may fix the games, similar to the WWF, and so much more. So if you want to hear about all this, watch the 30 for 30. It's called This Was the XFL. Another thing I want to note is I previously made a video about the ABA, a basketball league from the 70s that competed with the NBA. The story of the ABA and the XFL are remarkably similar as far as how they competed with the existing league. I recommend you watch that video or read up on the ABA if you're interested in the comparison. One of the similarities is how they were able to help improve the existing league. In the NFL's case, the cameras above the field and the microphones on the players are just a couple of things that we have the XFL to thank for. And, of course, the big news as of just yesterday is that Vince McMahon is bringing the XFL back, set to return in the year 2020. Now, since it's a full 2 years away from even starting, it's impossible to make many predictions about its success, but on the positive end, Vince McMahon seems to realize the mistakes he made from the first time. He addressed a lot of it in the announcement press conference. The first league was rushed together. This time, he's giving it a full 2 years to have it ready. Last time, there was too much wrestling involvement. This time, he assures it'll be 2 separate entities. He even says he won't be publicly involved nearly as much. He is attempting to fix the mistakes that were made the first time, but like I said before, it's hard to compete with the NFL. Let me know in the comments, not just if you think the XFL will succeed this time, but do you remember the XFL when it was happening the first time? Were you one of the 54 million people that watched that first game on TV? Or possibly one of the people at the game, in the stands, or even on the field? I'd like to hear what your thoughts of the league were at the time, and how they compare to your thoughts now. And for anyone who has only heard about it after the fact, possibly only after watching this video, what's your impression of it? Do you agree with my reasoning for their failure? Or was there something else that you suspect was a big factor? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
He just ended that video on about 16 questions in a row, for fuck's sake. We get it. Quick. Jesus Christ. I was getting well frustrated.
It's one of the things I was going to say. I think I probably would have called it the AFL, not the XFL, because the X doesn't mean anything, does it? You know, like the American Football League.
Yeah, but there is an American league, isn't there?
What football league?
I don't know if it's what they call National League and American League. Is that baseball?
Is it? Right.
Yeah, I don't know if they have the same in the.
But it's interesting them trying to, get it out there again, to reboot it.
Yeah, I wonder where it's up to now, because obviously COVID happened in 2020, didn't it? So
yeah, you'd expect that's why.
Have a quick look, Dave. See where the XFL is now.
If it's not launched yet, Vince McMahon should watch this video of us, because we've just answered all the questions.
Tell you where it's gone wrong.
We've just figured it out.
A lot of it is down.
Yeah, but let him not watch the video. Let him give us a call, and we can charge a consultancy fee.
XFL League is a professional, founded 2018, inaugural season 2020. New XFL. Oh no, it's not launched yet. So new XFL logo has been revealed prior to launch. So it must have been delayed.
Right.
Yeah, I suspected.
XFL co-owners The Rock and Danny Garcia. So The Rock is one of the co-owners of it.
I mean, they're influential people. don't know.
2023, I think
it was interesting that NBC lost the contracts for the NFL prior to that, which obviously rushed that through to try and get some viewership, and to get 54 million on the first one. I think I watched the first game.
Yeah, all right.
But I don't remember it, and I remember thinking, this shite.
A lot of it, big curiosity, won't it?
That's exactly what it is.
Like they say, in the end, it's the product, isn't it? If the product's no good, then people just see through it. They just do. You know, I mean, they bought some good things in, like the camera work and things like that, which that's what Sky did. You know, with the Premier League, they bought so many things and gave it a fresh outlook. It was absolutely incredible, and they've gone from strength to strength. But obviously, they were dealing with the same teams and stuff like you said before, so it was obviously a bit easier. But they did bring new ideas in, which can always be a good thing, can't it? But
one thing he's got to do there, you've got to get a team of players in, or ex-players, that can tell you how the game should be played, and let them explain this is the minor changes you should make, but keep these fundamental parts that are sort of like key to the game and what fans like, and that way it might be a success. You know, but you don't want to be called, the New York Hitmen and shit like that.
No, it's trashy, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It's the sort of thing you see on a five-a-side, high school fucking, football sort of like tournament.
It's like Sunday League football, isn't it? But with 54 million people watching it because of all the hype and all the big names involved. And you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, and people are like, it's probably a bit slow. Players aren't the best.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I bet everyone that was watching the XFL, I put money on this, that once they watched the first few games of XFL, they were like, God, I miss the NFL. And the season's just ended, and you're like, now I've got to wait from, till September or whatever until it starts again. And you're like, watching this shit for another 4 or 5 months. It's like with us with international football when the season ends, and you're like, got to watch international football.
Hey, I know, it's no good, is it? But it's really interesting.
It was that,
I didn't know anything about that at all.
First time I watched that channel, that company man, and he's got quite a few things he talks about with companies and stuff like that. So like the decline in different companies.
Just don't need 16 costumes at the end.
It's a few poses there, weren't there? But But it's good.
I hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget, like and subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers, guys.